Back on the air, and I told you Trevor Huffman was joined us from Passavant Team Rehab. You brought a troop with you.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's go through introductions. Who we got here?
We got. Say who you are.
Reed Huffman.
Okay.
Kirsten Huffman.
Kirsten Huffman.
Rajay Huffman.
Audrey Huffman.
Allison Huffman.
Allison Huffman. She's been in the corner. You got a troop here.
Yeah.
How was the combine?
It was good. It went really good.
Now, is it still going on? I mean,
Yes.
are there aspects of it? Yeah. That's what I
Yes.
thought.
I mean, what you see on TV is only a very small portion of what there is. They're actually out there for 4 or 5 days a lot of times, depending on the athlete and what all they're going to see. I mean, I'm only involved with the very, very first day that they're there. I mean, when they come in their very first day, they go to the hospital for a lot of testing like blood work, EKGs. If there's reported injuries or possible problems, they'll do x-rays, MRIs, they'll do all that type of stuff. And then they'll come to our portion, which is a computerized strength testing is what we do. And we compare basically strength in one leg and compare it to the other, and still looking, all that is looking for injuries. Is kind of what we do.
Yeah. Does that information, is that made available to everybody, I guess?
Yes, what we're doing is as they're going through all that, we're starting to make a folder on all those athletes. So and then the second day is they go see the orthopedic surgeons, all the other doctors, and they go through all the results from the first day, and they can order more MRI tests, or they can order more, and they're just basically just trying to see the health of the individual, before they invest millions of dollars in these guys. They want to know how healthy they are. So.
We see pictures of them, and on Sunday they've got the equipment on. You really can't get a sense for how big and strong these guys are. You get that sense there.
Yes. There was one guy that probably impressed me the most was a defensive lineman, and his thighs were as big as my waist. I guarantee you. He was just a beast of a guy when he got up.
And probably didn't have any fat on him either.
Not much. And luckily he was a really nice guy. But when he got on my machine, I was like, just don't break it. That's all I said. And he just kind of laughed, and they were very big and powerful guys. So
did you see RG3 do his stuff that made the eyes pop? Or were you even close?
I wasn't even that day. On day 3, that's when we would have been
Okay.
testing the defensive linemen and linebackers. So I don't get to see all that what goes on over in the dome. There's they use several different hotels and hospitals and different things like that, and then the dome too. And I wasn't even over in the dome at all. I was in one of the hotels. The players and the workers like me all stayed in one hotel together, and that's where we did our testing.
Do you have any contact with the NFL teams per se then?
Not the direct NFL teams. Like where my hotel room was out in front is a lot of like where they have a lot of the conferences, and that's probably the biggest part of the combine that you don't see on ESPN. Is in the evenings they have interviews that start early in the evening all the way up to 11, 12 o'clock at night. And all along in that hotel room, each like Philadelphia will have a room, Washington will have a room, Chicago will have a room, and the coaches are in there, and the athletes are going from room to room or kind of on a scheduled basis, and they go in there and become interviewed by those coaches. I think that's probably the most important part of that combine is those interviews that go on the evenings. So
it's to you and I and maybe to others, you don't think about it as much because you think these guys are going to be making millions of dollars. But that is a grind, isn't it?
Yes. These guys come in there very tired. I mean, it seems like some of them, well, I know some of them that we were getting at the end of the first day were been at the hospital for 6 hours. I mean, these guys, some of them were getting up at 4:30 in the morning, flying to Indianapolis, start going right to the hospital or coming right into us, and then not getting done until, late that evening. It just kind of depends on the athlete. A couple years ago when I was there, I remember Colt McCoy came in towards the end of the day by himself, and usually they kind of come in groups, but he was by himself, and he looked tired, and I asked him, I said, you all right? And he goes, man, they just put me through the ringer at the hospital. I remember that, and that was just day one, and after we do our test, I remember one kid, he was on it, he got done. I was like, well, welcome to the combine. He's like, man, I guess only been here 15 minutes, and he's, it's intense for some of these guys. So.
I remember last year you came away pretty impressed with Tim Tebow, didn't you?
Yes.
Anybody strike you? Any thoughts about some of the players that came through there?
I mean, there was always impressive just based on the size. Probably kind of the funnest guy that kind of stood out to me was actually an offensive lineman from Wisconsin, last name Kuntz, and he was just kind of a fun, I don't know if you call him a farm type kid, but he's just grinning ear to ear, kind of happy to be there, a lot of fun to test, and very, very powerful in the machines. And he's I don't know what he weighed, but he's well over 300 pounds probably. Most of those guys, the first day we did the offensive linemen and place kickers and the punters and things like that, and all those offensive linemen, they probably averaged 320 or 315 that we were testing. So they're big guys.
I saw a note today that one of the, I think it's one of the offensive linemen, they take the 225 pounds and do bench press,
Yes.
and how many times you can do it.
Right.
He did it 44 times.
Right.
44 times. Just eye-popping numbers.
Right. And I could remember that's you used to hope for 20 of those and things like that, back when they first started doing some of these testing and stuff. And now those guys, they're just massive guys. Even the running backs and the quarterbacks are strong guys. Even the punters are big guys. I mean, some of those punters coming in there were 245, 250, and were very, very powerful on our machines.
And I imagine some of the players who perform the best, they've got the science of it down too. And I was just thinking of the punters when you said that, because of the aerodynamics of the ball turning it over, but we're the best to hit the ball when they punt it.
Yeah, most of these guys have been training. As soon as their bowl game's over, they go to a training center. I mean, they're kind of all over. Most of them are kind of down in the south. There's some up north, but they'll be in Florida or Arizona or something like that. And there's they're there full time training to getting ready for the combine. So when these guys get to the combine, they're in the best shape of their lives and have really, really concentrated on just that. You'll get a few that have had some injuries. It was kind of surprising the first couple of days. We had 3 or 4 guys that couldn't do this, couldn't do that because of the injuries they got in the bowl game. So they're kind of getting fixed up from that and could only do portions of the test. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you can answer this, but do they also test for performance-enhancing drugs at some point?
I would imagine when they do the lab work, I don't know what all they're looking at that, but I've never looked at through all that paperwork and things like that. But they do a lot of lab work on them too. I don't know what all they're looking for in that. But
just some of these guys are so big.
Right.
Does it make you watch the NFL draft a little bit differently now?
I would probably have never really sat down and watched the whole thing. I know the first year I went with Tim Tebow and Colt McCoy and those guys, I really watched that and just I was really curious to see where those guys were. And after getting to meet Tim Tebow and talk to him a little bit there, I was really rooting for him. So when he went first round, I was pretty excited. I was a little disappointed when Colt McCoy didn't get to, he went pretty deep, but
right.
But it was interesting to get to meet those guys and kind of put a face with them and know how their personalities are just a little bit. I mean, I might only work with them for 10 or 15 minutes, but a lot of them are very friendly and kind of they're fun to be around, those type of guys.
And you find yourself pulling for Tebow, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
And for good reason, yeah.
Yeah, he's a very incredible guy. When I met him that time, I introduced him. I told him thanks for writing the Bible verses on his eye patches, because my son, when he'd see that, a lot of times would go pull open the Bible and see what it said and things like that. So I just told him that and told him thanks for doing that. And he was like, well, what's your son's name? And I was like, well, Reed. And he goes, well, you tell Reed I said hello. And when I called him that night, I don't know if he believed me or not, but I told him that whole story, and he's like, That's all he kept saying was, And then, so he was a really nice guy, and the majority of them are kind of that way. Like this time, I kind of talked to Weaver a little bit about the Rochester quarterback, that he's already down at Oklahoma State, and he hasn't got to know him because he had left and went, or Whedon was his name. He already went to do training kind of when the Rochester quarterback's gone down to Oklahoma State, but I talked to him a little bit about that, and he was a very interesting guy, too. So
we're out of time. We got to get going. But, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate
no problem.
it. WLDS Jacksonville. Hey, you guys get to go to school next, okay?